I'm going to teach you guys how to gutload superworms. Welcome back to Northern Exotics, guys. We're a reptile YouTube channel that absolutely thrives on education for all things reptile related. If that's something you're interested in, consider subscribing. So guys, in this video we're going to run through absolutely all the information you need to know for not just how to gutload your superworms, but also why it's so important to gutload your superworms. And it's amazing just how simple it actually is. So all my information comes from experience. I've been breeding my own superworms for years. So if you guys want to learn exactly how to breed your own superworms so that you get free live food, just click on this card just up here. I'll stick a video there. That'll take you straight through to a video on how to breed your own superworms. But let's get straight into the gutloading part of this video. Gutloading is extremely important. Simply because when you buy your superworms in these little tubs at the reptile shop, and when you finally get them home, you've got to think they've been in transit in that tub for at least a week, because they would have been collected at the manufacturer. I say the manufacturer, the breeder, the company that's bred them or whatever. They would have been bred, then they would have been raised. So they would have been cared for correctly while they were being raised, otherwise they wouldn't have been actually raised properly and they wouldn't be the size that they are. They've come from the manufacturer, and then they go from the manufacturer to the wholesaler, the person that sells them to the pet shops. So they would have gone from the manufacturer in transit, which was a minimum 24 hours in postage and stuff, to the wholesaler. They would have been on the shop, on the shelf, on the internet and all that sort of stuff for God knows how long before the reptile shop purchased them. And then the reptile shop took them and stuck them on his shelf. They would have got posted from the wholesaler, or collected or whatever, from the wholesaler to the reptile shop. And then it would have been put on the shelf at the reptile shop. So how long has this been in transit where these haven't had food? Because they come from the main breeder and they get bred up. So they're being fed, they're being moistured and all this sort of stuff. By the time they actually get to the reptile shop, then, I mean, they're not shipped in food or anything like that. They're shipped in sawdust and stuff like that. So how long has it been since these guys have had a meal or had a drink? At least a week, in my eyes. In my opinion, it's going to be at least a week. So it just goes to show they can last quite a while without food and drink and stuff. But those superworms are going to be dehydrated. They're going to be malnutritious. That. So what you need to do is gutload. Now, gutload is a little saying where basically you fill their stomachs up with the correct moisture and the correct food and the correct diet, the healthiest possible way, so that when your reptile or your chicken or hedgehog or whatever your superworm eating animal actually eats these, is eating an extremely healthy superworm, so that your animal is eating extremely healthy. It's a bit of a process to follow, but it really does work. So how do we do it? This is how we do it. We simply come down to my mini superworm farm. This is just a little mini one. If you want to learn how to set this up, I'll stick a card in the top there. Just click on that and it'll take you straight through to it. But this is a general gist on how to gutload. It's dead simple. Now, you can see there's a few in there, nothing special. A few bits of bobs stuff in there. Now, this stuff, you can use a couple of different things as their bedding. Their bedding is also a good food source. Me personally, I use bog standard, cheap and cheerful oats. And that's their dry food. That puts an awful lot of protein, fibre and all the goodness into their system. Now, you do not want to use anything calcium related. Even though your animal that you're going to feed these to requires calcium, you can't feed superworms or any feeder insects calcium. And it's simply because they're an insect, and insects have an exoskeleton. Now, calcium is a source of nutrition that strengthens bones. With insects like superworms, dubia roaches and all that sort of stuff, their bone, their exoskeleton is on the outside of their body. Superworms need to shed their skin to be able to grow. They can't grow inside a skeleton, if that makes sense. So they have to shed their skin. They can't shed their skin if they've got a high rich calcium diet. So if your animal needs calcium, use the correct calcium supplements to dust over your feeder insects. But it's not only the substrate, this stuff that they do eat. That's oats, they do eat that, that's their dry food. It's the cheapest and best form of dry food I've ever used. You can use wheat bran and stuff like that, that's perfectly fine. They also need a moisture content because, again, they've been in transit for an awful long time and they're going to be dehydrated. Now, you can't feed them water because they'll drown. You can feed them water crystals, that's perfectly fine. Or you can do my way, I use leftover banana peel. Simple, bog standard banana peel. That's again full of potassium. which gives them a little bit of energy, a burst of energy. You've got to think again, they're going to be dehydrated and malnutrition. I can't say that word. Malnutrition. They're going to be dehydrated and malnutrition, so they're going to be lethargic. So the potassium really gives them that little boost to go forward. And you can use other substances just like apple. Apple is a great way of giving them the moisture they need and extremely high amount of nutrition. Don't feed them anything like lettuce, because there is absolutely no nutritional value in lettuce. Lettuce is perfectly fine for tortoises because they get to keep that food inside their body for a good 2 weeks so their body can extract all the goodness out of it. But for superworms, they eat it in and comes out one end. There's no nutritional value in lettuce for superworms. This exact same process can be done for other species as well. Mealworms, this is absolutely perfect, exactly the same for mealworms. And if you're breeding your mealworms or your superworms, this is a great way to keep the beetles as well. I keep all my beetles from my mealworms and my superworms exactly like this. So it's not only a good way to gut load your feeder insects, it's also a really good way for you to keep them for long term. But that's brought us towards the end of this show for now. I hope you've learned absolutely everything. If you have, hit that thumbs up button. If you're new around here, please subscribe. If you want to learn how to set up that little superworm farm, click on this video here. And if you want to learn how to breed superworms, click that one down there. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate every single one of you. Peace out.